Hi everyone, welcome to Simple Concepts. I'm your educator Niyati Paul. Guys, in this particular video, we'll be looking into this topic: agriculture, procurement, buffer stock, FCI reforms and PDS. तो सबसे पहले ये जान लेते हैं कि कौन कौन से टॉपिक हम इस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल के अंडर कवर करने वाले हैं. So first I'll be explaining about to you all that Food Corporation of India regarding the procurement, storage, operational stock, strategic and buffer stock, open market sales scheme, FCI reforms and entrepreneur guarantee scheme. Under public distribution system, that is PDS, we'll be discussing identification of beneficiaries, Food Security Act, other welfare schemes and central issue price and economic cost. So before we actually start up with the lecture, let me tell you all, आपके पास एक बड़ी गोल्डन अपॉर्चुनिटी है विच अनअकैडमी प्लस ब्रिंग्स टू यॉल. अगर आपने प्लस सब्सक्रिप्शन ले लिया तो देर आर 3 कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बैचेस दैट आर गोइंग ऑन wherein you will get complete 1 year preparation, and if you want to ensure your UPSC CSE selection of 2021, then make sure you take this Unacademy Plus subscription. Also guys, the benefits are there are bilingual GS BS batch courses that are going on. Also Hindi GS batch courses भी available है along with the English GS batch courses. Benefits आपको ये रहेंगे कि you will get full syllabus coverage wherein there are prelims and mains test series that are going on along with the analysis, and there are dedicated doubt clearing sessions that will be conducted to you all individually along with the interview preparation. So already a start हुआ है right from the 8th of June 2020, and if you use our code that is Simplet SIMPLEYT, then you will be getting 10% discount. Also guys, Unacademy Plus gives you all a heavy discount of 67%, wherein you just have to pay 2,667 per month, which is I think much affordable if we compare these to offline classes. And if you enroll yourself now in Unacademy UPSC Championship, then it is already for, if you enroll yourself now, then it will be for the free of cost. Also guys, जो भी हम यहाँ पे सिलेबस से रिलेटेड जो भी टॉपिक्स डिस्कस करते हैं, if you want to avail all those notes in the form of PDF, then do join in to our Telegram group. The link of the group is given in the description below. In any case, if you are unable to find our group, then you just have to go to your Telegram account. वहाँ पे अगर सर्च बार में आप सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट्स UPSC के नाम से अगर आप सर्च करते हो, then you will be able to find our group. Having said that, let's start with our today's class. So सबसे पहले ये जान लेते हैं कि कौन कौन से पेपर्स में ये वाला टॉपिक कवर होने जा रहा है. So it will be in GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. In GS paper 2, you will get these topics like government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation. Further, you will get welfare schemes for vulnerable sections of population by the center and states, and the performance of these schemes, mechanism, laws, institution and bodies constituted for the protection and betterment of these vulnerable sections. Also you will get to have issues relating to poverty and hunger. तो ये सारे टॉपिक्स आप GS2 से कनेक्ट कर सकते हो when it comes to this topic: agriculture, procurement, buffer stock, FCI reforms and PDS. So speaking about the GS paper 3, so आपके यहाँ पे टॉपिक्स हैं जैसे कि issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support prices, then public distribution system, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping, issues of buffer stock and food security, technology missions, economics of animal rearing, etc. So हमारे previous video में हमने discuss करा था, we had covered agricultural inputs, issues related to input subsidies and pricing policy of the government along with the WTO, that is World Trade Organization. So next most deserving issues comes out of procurement, storage, domestic and international trade. So these stages are also heavily controlled by the government. The minimum selling price regime forces government for an open-ended procurement policy. This takes away discretion of FCI both in determining quantity to brought and price to be paid. Grains are squeezed out of the open market and land into godowns. Further, even the grain which is left in the open market and notified under the APMC are meant to be brought to agricultural markets for sale, and this increase costs and delays the movement of products in value chain. There are other interventions too, such as interstate seizures and taxes, which further add up to the cost. Now, government has made relentless efforts to remove these hindrances, but agriculture being a stateless subject has met with this very limited success. So, speaking about the Food Corporation of India, it was formed in 1960s and it was a part of a larger plan directed toward the food security and self-sufficiency. Other major institutions was CACP. So these two institutions, along with the MSP regime and public distribution systems, were expected to work in tandem. Now, FCI's responsibility was to procure, store and discharge grains as per the policy of the government. Over the time, as in the other cases, these institutions too failed to adopt the changing circumstances such as changing demands of the economy. As a result, FCI now reels under chronic inefficiency through huge wastages and storage cost of grains keeps on culminating. Now, FCI deals in rice, wheat and coarse grains only, and the NAFED deals with pulses and oilseeds. We'll be discussing about all these things details in some other video. I'll be explaining you all these things in details. So, speaking about the procurement, as we have already learned that government is a buyer of last resort, and due to rising MSPs, government most of the time becomes preferred customer to the farmers. In past few years, government is buying about third of the total food grain production. New Food Security Act changes the situation dramatically. Previously, government had to distribute subsidized food grains only to the below poverty line people, and those covered under this Antodaya Anna Yojana, that is about 2.5 crore families, which is huge. But now government is committed to provide food to only 50% of urban and 75% of rural population at even higher subsidy. Act is expected to increase procurement significantly. Now, FCI follows two model procurement vis-a-vis the centralized and decentralized procurement. The centralized procurement was introduced by the government of India somewhere around in 1997 to 1998, where states which voluntarily becomes the part of this program procure, store and distribute food grains under the Targeted Public Distribution System, that is TPDS, and the other welfare schemes on behalf of the central government. The idea was to enhance the efficiency of the process by encouraging local participation. All expenses are centrally met, and in centralized procurement, grain is the first moved to FCI godowns and then relocated to states. This results in extra expenditure on storage and transportation. So currently there are 10 states which are undertaking the decentralized procurement. Now let us look into the functions of FCI. The very first and the important function of the FCI is to procure the food grains, and the other ones stands like to maintain operational stock and buffer stock for food security, allocation of grains to state, selling grains to state at central issue prices, distribution and transportation of grains to the state. So the one way by which you can remember all these things is procure, stock, allocate, self and transport. So in this way you can just summarize this entire answer of functions of FCI. I'll repeat it again. You just have to remember procure, stock, allocate, self and transport. Let us now look into the storage, that is for what purposes FCI maintains stock of the food grains. So it is quite common that all the countries maintain some backup to tackle with any possible food crisis due to drought or any other natural calamity. At times there can be violent fluctuations in price of important commodities due to the macroeconomic imbalances. For example, we can say due to short-term price rises in production can soon shift from essential food crops to cash crops. Now countries have two options to secure: either to maintain physical stock of the food grains or to maintain enough foreign reserves so that at time of crisis country is able to import sufficient stock. In case of latter, the country can lose its own capacity to intervene. Now, after the LPG reforms which were in 1991, India stuck to its policy of maintaining sufficient physical stocks and in spite of pressure from developed countries in forums such as World Trade Organizations. In contrast, most of the Asian countries turned away from physical stock towards the international market. In the year 2007, there was a food price crisis due to low global production, which pushed global agro prices higher. India's stock saved it from any hardships, but Asian countries had to spend substantially higher forex reserves to overcome these shortages. Further, in developed countries, big agro corporations maintained huge inventory of agricultural products, and they have to depend lesser upon government support. Again, in India, private sector, despite of having promising future, doesn't yet have capacity to take care of any such crisis. Another major reason for stocking of food is to serve world's largest public distribution system. As I have already said, passage and implementation of FSA is expected to raise procurement upside down, which in turn will raise need for stock maintenance. And last but not the least, FCI under an open-ended policy has no option but to buy whatever is offered to it by the farmers. So unless a similar policy of regular reimbursement is not followed, stocks will keep piling up. Now these points make stocking of food grains imperative. But on the greener side, India's stocks are almost double than its need, and as per the per year carrying cost of grain is much higher, as rupees 5 per kg. Now carrying cost including rent, management, maintenance and interest on money block in this entire stock. This coupled with pilferage, theft and quality deterioration fails whole concept and turns a virtue into vice. Now speaking about operational stocks are defined as the minimum quantity required for running the TPDS or NFSA and other welfare schemes until quantities procured from new crop. Now these are made out of the current year production and are meant to be consumed in the following year. So it should be noted over here that the new wheat comes into market every year in April, and most of the rice comes in October, more particularly in north, but we can consider the same timeline. But consumption and disbursement is almost even throughout the year. So while maintaining operational stocks, intra-year variations are taken care of, and in case of buffer stocks, inter-year variations are considered. Now let us look into the strategic stock and buffer stock. So FCI maintains stocks of grains in excess of what is needed for meeting operational needs, and these stocks are called as strategic stocks. Buffer stocks are part of strategic stocks, and in addition to buffer norms, government has prescribed a strategic reserve of 3 million ton of wheat in 2008 and 2 million tons of rice in 2009. So the total strategic reserves are 5 million tons. There is a bit lack of clarity regarding the terminologies, that is strategic reserves equals buffer stock plus strategic reserves, etc. Now the government fixes the buffer stock norms prescribing the minimum quantities of food grains, that is wheat and rice, to be maintained in the central pool at the beginning of each quarter. That is, we can consider January, April, July and October. Now let us understand how buffer stock is determined. So a technical group chaired by the Secretary of the Ministry of Food with representations from the Ministry of Agriculture, FCI, Planning Commission and Ministry of Consumer Affairs periodically evaluates both the levels of composition of buffer stock of food grains, that is rice and wheat and coarser cereals. So this should be maintained throughout the year with the both central pool with FCI and with the states. Now technical group determines buffer stock scientifically and taking into account production and consumption offtake by states pattern of the past, and this is expected patterns of the future. For example, we can consider in the last 12 years only twice, in 2002 by 12.4% and 2009 by 5.83%, the cereal output declined. Now this data is not important for you all when it comes to writing the mains answers, but do consider this information when it comes to your essay. This will serve to you as your fodder material. Now let us look into the open market sales schemes. So this is a price control mechanism. As we know, central pool of food grains has been created primarily to maintain a minimum buffer stock for meeting the unforeseen exigencies like drought, flood and other natural calamities, and also for providing food grains required for PDS, that is public distribution system, and the other food grains based on the welfare programs of the government. Now in addition, the FCI on instruction from the government has been resorting to sell food grains, that is wheat and rice, at predetermined prices to the open market from time to time to achieve the objectives as following. The very first objective being to enhance the supply of food grains, especially during the lean season, and thereof to have healthy and moderating influence on the open market prices. Second objective being to offload the excess stocks in central pool and to reduce the carrying cost of food grains to extent possible. Third objective being to save the food grains from deterioration in quality and to use those food grains for human consumptions. And the last one being to release the valuable storage spaces from stocks procured during ensuring marketing seasons of wheat and rice. Let us now briefly understand what were the reforms taken by the FCI. So this is a very important thing to learn, that FCI has no discretion at all in any of the matters. The Food Corporation India Act of 1964 lays down that all its operations will be financed by the Government of India. Now the Food Corporation of India does not even have profit and loss account. As we have seen, procurement is open-ended, MSSPs and bonuses are beyond FCI. So neither quantity for the buffer stock nor the distribution through TPDS or other welfare scheme is in its hand. There are many suggestions to revamp the FCI, including breaking it into three entities, one for procurement, storage and reimbursement each. Other one is fully decentralized, FCI and its operation in hands of state. Now, but these efforts can bring comparative better practices, but not any radical changes. For this work, whole value chain from MSPs to PDS is needed to be considered under a single integrated policy. We can learn this from one example. Let us say in place of MSP, income support policy is adopted, in which farmer will get income support on the basis of land that they hold, and they won't get some different benefits as per the crop. In this scenario, FCI will have to purchase at market prices, and this can end its open-ended procurement and maintain stock pricely required for buffer and operational purposes. If farmer is getting income support or even direct benefit transfer, it will make no difference to him whether he sells in market or in FCI. On the other hand, if for FSA and TPDS, government adopts direct transfers against the FCI, this will get its whole economic cost recovered and grains will be sold on market prices. So this will make grains much cheaper, as it will reduce the carrying cost and it will result the good quality sale, less pilferage, etc. Now so few years back, government formed a high level committee on restructuring the Food Corporation of India, that is FCI, to suggest for the reforms in the same. So there are three storage agencies: Food Corporation of India, Central Warehousing Corporation and State Warehousing Corporation, as you can see on your screens. Now the storage capacity could either be owned by these agencies or hired from private owners. The grain is stored either in covered godowns or silos, or in uncovered godowns called as covered and plinth, that is CAP. The storage capacity here is granted total storage capacity of all three agencies: hired, owned and covered CAP. Now storage capacity with FCI is largest and it is increasing reasonably, but capacity under cover and plinth is increasing faster than the covered ones. So CAP is unscientific and FCI recommended to store only operational or temporary stocks here. Here, qualities deterioration, pilferage, and theft is substantially higher. Now, speaking about the CAP, so CAP storage is an indigenous method which was developed by the Food Corporation of India, whereby food grains are stored in the open with precautions such as rat and damp-proof plinths and covering of stacks with specifically fabricated polythene covers, etc. Speaking about Entrepreneurs Guarantee Scheme, so private sector is being roped in the create capacities for the government on 5 to 10 year guarantee periods say. So under the Private Entrepreneurs Guarantee, that is PEG scheme since 2008, the progress has been steady as a private entrepreneurs do not find it profitable. So as against the buffer norm of 16.2 million tons and strategic reserve of 5 million tons total food grains. Now this total food grain storage in the FCI godowns was reported at 57.38 million tons as on 1st of August 2009. So अभी तो बहुत वक्त बीता है, but currently rice and wheat are released from godowns after 24 and 36 months respectively. Food Ministry issued orders to bring this period down to 18 months. It was decided that 10 million tons of wheat and 5 million tons of rice will be released in the market. Consequently, now as per the new stocks has come down substantially and newly procured rice will not be stored under the covered plinth. This also partially explains recent coolings of CPI inflation. Now speaking about transportation, in addition to this, transportation of grains from FCI, CWC godowns to state godowns is with the FCI, and from state godowns to fair price shops at the is of the state. Let us now understand the public distribution system. So PDS was first introduced in post-World War II period due to the crippling food shortages, and then the times of food crisis of 1960s was significantly expanded. So in early days it was universally subsidized delivery. In 1990s, revamped PDS was launched to include hilly and inaccessible areas. Then finally targeted PDS was introduced. So in 2001, the Public Distribution System Order was passed under Essential Commodities Act. It governs rules regarding identification of beneficiaries and commodities to be included. Now speaking about identification of beneficiaries, National Sample Survey Organization every 5 years identifies BPL based on per capita consumption expenditure. Ministry of Rural Development through BPL surveys provide criteria for inclusion or exclusion. States finally identify eligible households and planning commissions makes state-wise list for identified household along with the central government, which allocates food grains to each state based on all the above criteria that I have explained. So this is a current system, and enactment of Food Security Act has done away need for BPL based identification. As Food Security Act is currently implanted by only 11 states, other states are following the BPL based system, and still identification will be done by state governments only, and socio-economic caste census will be instrumental in this. Now states can also increase entitlements on their own expenses. For example, Tamil Nadu, Chandigarh and Madhya Pradesh are proving in this regards. Let us now briefly understand the National Food Security Act 2013. So there are certain features which you can see on your computer screen as I have explained to you all. We'll be explaining each point one by one. So coverage, first one is coverage and entitlement under targeted public distribution system. Henceforth we'll be describing it as TPDS. So this is up to 75% of rural population and 50% of urban population will be covered under the TPDS with uniform entitlement of 5 kgs per person per month. However, since this Antyodaya Anna Yojana, that is AAY household constitute poorest of the poor and are presently entitled to 35 kg per household per month, Entitlement of existing Antyodaya Anna Yojana schemes household will be protected at 35 kg per household per month. Regarding the state-wise coverage, so corresponding to all India coverage of 75% and 50% in rural and urban areas, state-wise coverage will be determined by central government. Planning Commission has determined the state-wise coverage by using the NSS Household Consumption Survey data for the year 2011-2012 and also provided state-wise inclusion ratios. This means that coverage ratio will be different for states. So poor states will get more than 75% and 50% of coverage, and rich states will get lesser coverage. This is one of the drawback of this entire scheme. Now next one is subsidized prices under TPDS and their revision. So food grain under TPDS will be made available at subsidized price at rupees 3 to 1 per kg for price for rice, wheat and coarse grains for a period of 3 years. From the date of commencement of this act, thereafter, prices will be suitably linked to minimum support prices, that is MSPs. So in case any state allocation of food grain from FCI under the act lowers down, then the current allocation, it will be given at least average offtake during the last 3 years at prices to be determined by the central government. So existing prices for APL household for wheat and rice has been determined as issue prices for the additional allocation of to protect the average offtake during the last 3 years. So speaking about nutritional support to women and children, the pregnant women and lacting mothers and the children in the age group of 6 months to 14 years will be entitled for meals as per the prescribed nutritional norms under Integrated Child Development Services, that is ICDS, and midday meal, that is MDM schemes. High nutritional norms have been prescribed for malnourished children up to the 6 years. Speaking about the maternity benefits, the pregnant women and lactating mothers will also be entitled to receive maternity benefits of not less than rupees 6,000. Now, we also have women empowerment in this entire schemes, wherein eldest women of the household of age of 18 years or above to be the head of the household for the purpose of issuing of the ration cards. Now the cost of intra-state transportation and handling of food grains and fair prices shop deals margin, the central government will provide assistance to state in meeting the expenditure incurred by them on transportation of food grains within the states. Its handling and FPS dealers margin as per the norms to be devised for this purpose. Speaking about the food security allowances, so provision for food security allowance to entitled beneficiaries in case of non-supply of entitled food grains or meals. We also have penalty for this entire provision, wherein provision for penalty of public servant or authority to be imposed by the State Food Commission in case of failure to comply with the relief recommended by the District Grievances Redressal Officer. Let us now quickly look into the other welfare schemes that are provided by the government. So apart from the TDPS and Food Security Act, there are a number of other schemes for which FCI stocks and issue grains. Important among them are first one is midday meal scheme. This is by Ministry of Human Resources Development. These are important for you all, यानी कि कौन सी स्कीम किस मिनिस्ट्री के अंडर आती है. These questions might come to you all in your prelims, so do make sure that आप इन सारे notes के screenshots ले रहे हो. So speaking about the midday meal scheme, it is by the Ministry of Human Resources Development. So the scheme presently covers students of class 1st to class 8th of government and government aided school education, a guarantee scheme alternating and innovative education centers. It was launched with a view to enhance enrollment, retention, attendance and simultaneously improving nutritional levels among the students in primary schools. Speaking about the wheat-based nutrition program, hereby will be referred to as WBNP. This was by Ministry of Women and Child Development. So the food grains allotted under these schemes are utilized by the states, then UTs, then under the Integrated Child Development Scheme, that is ICDS, for providing nutritious, energy, or energy food for the children below 6 years and below 6 years of the age and expectant lactating women. Speaking about the Annapurna scheme, which is by Ministry of Rural Development, so needy senior citizens of 65 years of age or above who are not getting pensions under the National Old Age Pension Schemes are provided 10 kgs of food grains as per person per month free of cost under this scheme. Now speaking about Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of adolescent girls, so there was this scheme few years back wherein the scheme aims at empowering adolescent girls of 11 to 18 years, wherein there were improvement of their nutritional and health status was seen. Of course ये scheme अभी नहीं चल रही है, there are other schemes simultaneously going on. There was also the central issue price or CIP and economic cost. So the CIP is the price at which food grains are issued by the FCI to states. CIP are different from APL and BPL beneficiaries. For APL beneficiaries, CIP is equal to the economic cost of the food grains, which includes procurement, storage, interest and transportation cost. For BPL, CIP is same as was fixed in 2000. Interestingly, the APL's CIP at economic cost of rupees 8.30 per kg in case of rice and rupees 6.10 per kg for wheat, which was fixed in 2002, is still continuing, and effect of APLs whom subsidy is not intentionally directed are still getting the subsidized food. So guys, that's all for this particular class. I have different questions for you जो कि आपको मेंस के लिए important हो सकते हैं. So here are the questions. Explain the need for reforms in FCI. What steps state government has taken so far? Is farmers' interest for high crop realization contradictory public concern for low food prices? And what impact does the Food Security Act has on the current PDS system? तो ये सारे सवालों के जवाब आपको in 200 words में देने हैं. So these questions are important for you all when it comes to the mains, your mains papers. So guys, that's all for this particular class. If you like this video, then do hit the like button. अगर आप हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे नए हो, then do hit the subscribe button and also press the notification. Also press the bell icon so that you can get notified every time we put any video on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and take care.